Bienvenidos, bienvenidas. Welcome everybody. I am sorry for all the problems with everything, but we're on. So, okay, funciona, it works. Okay. Esta es la última clase. This is the last class of summer session. I believe it's like mid-September when we start up again. I thought it was going to be right after Labor Day, but then I looked at the attendance sheet. No, it looked more like upper teens or early 20s. I'll check it again. I'll let you guys know. So we've got like a few weeks off, 2 or 3 weeks, I think. And I will probably send you, I'll probably send you a little email with like suggestions of things to do over the break, like especially listening things to listen. Okay, bueno, estamos en la última clase. Vamos a hablar del tiempo otra vez. We're going to do just a little bit more with weather. We're going to take a look at what you posted to. I went through all the postings. I haven't quite figured out how to edit it yet, but we'll take a look at a couple things. So, you know, the important thing is not for you to get all the grammar perfect. The important thing is to get out an idea where somebody could follow your train of thought. So, you know, we'll kind of look at that posting board and see what we need to sort of clean up, you know, to make it sound a little bit better. And I'm going to give you a chance with breakout rooms to talk a little bit more in a different way about the weather, to talk amongst yourselves. So that cleanup with the post-it board is kind of a preview for you to get out and talk a little bit more using weather. We'll come back. We're going to look at these yin and yang, the affirmative and negative words a little bit more. One last thing we're going to add with that, we'll have you do a practice session speaking with each other about that. And then we're going to come into kind of a mini short lesson, which is an easy one to finish up with, because Isaac had a great question about some words like me and ti, and how those are different. And actually, that's a good and easy short lesson to do because you do hear those words a lot, but you should know, like, why are they different? Why isn't it yo and why isn't it tú? And yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit. Okay, bien, bueno, vamos a empezar. And bear with me while I switch out my screens. Yeah, our electrical storm was so bad here that I unplugged a whole bunch of things because I was afraid we were going to get something hit the house and go through all the electrical system. It was that intense. And then not a drop of rain. ¿Por qué? Why? Why does that happen? Okay, vamos a ver. Vamos a ver, I'm going to share the screen. Voy a compartirles. I'm going to share with you guys the screen so you can see what everybody wrote. I hope you can see this. Is this too small to read? Kind of small? Okay, no. Vamos a ver, we're going to take a look. And we're going to see some little things that we can change up just a tiny bit to like clean up. You know, make them sound a little bit better. En Chicago, oh, perdón, aquí. Vamos a empezar a la izquierda. We're going to start up at in the left. So left-hand corner. Me gusta el otoño, and it doesn't matter that you don't have all the little, you know, accent marks, tildes. So don't fret over that, because I know most of you don't have keyboards that do that. Me gusta el otoño. Otoño, of course, would have the ñ, but that's okay. Está bien. Me gusta el otoño en Illinois. Me gusta el otoño en Illinois porque el tiempo, porque hace fresco. We can cut out just el tiempo. Porque hace fresco. Porque hace fresco y hay mucho sol. Los árboles tienen color. No tengo que trabajar en mi jardín todos los días. I don't have to work in my garden every day. Puedo usar una chaqueta cuando camino. I can use a jacket when I walk. Está bien, bien. En Chicago, en otoño, hace mucho viento. It is windy, really windy. And I want you to notice people did this right. We're going to celebrate what we did right. When we have a phrase like hace mucho viento, it does have to be hace mucho viento. It makes a lot of wind. That's what it's got to do. You know, that's what we have to use. We have to use mucho. Hay mucho sol. There's a lot of sun. We need to use mucho with these. A lot of people want to use muy, but mucho is correct. And now I've got a tab down there. Watch for me gusta, me gustan. We're going to have after this some examples where we've got me gusta, me gustan. And we need to kind of review that. And we'll pick that up again in fall and look at that again, because there are a lot of words or phrases related to me gusta and me gustan that are related, but kind of tweaks on saying I love something or I like something. That we'll go into in the fall. And so we'll use that as a way to clean up our uses of me gusta and me gustan. I'm looking in la segunda columna. Miremos, let's look at, miremos la segunda columna. Estoy muy contenta también cuando hace fresco. Was there more to look at with that? No, that was mine. That was my dummy account there. Below that, we've got something from Sue White. Está tormentoso. It's stormy. Cae, sí. Y llueve en el sur de Arizona. It's raining in south of Arizona. You don't know how to use that in the past. That's okay. Present tense is good. En Barcelona en agosto está caluroso. En Barcelona en agosto está caluroso. Bien, bueno, de Trish. Mi estación favorita en Arizona es la primavera porque, and here we need me gusta. So, you know, we'll go back into that again in the fall. It needs to be me gusta. Me gusta, and actually it'll be me gustan because it's hojas, leaves. And when leaves, more than one is plural. So that will have to be me gustan. Me gustan las nuevas hojas en los árboles. I like the new leaves. Literally, the new leaves, they are plural, the leaves, they are pleasing to me. Me gustan las nuevas hojas en los árboles. Hay más lluvia, there's more rain, para ayudar a las plantas a crecer. Me gusta caminar mi perra temprano por la mañana o en la mañana cuando está fresco y no hay nubes. There are no clouds? Sí, bien. Ok. En la primavera en Scottsdale está despejado. Here we need está. Está despejado. It is clear. Está despejado. Despejado is one of the words we do not use with hace. A lot of phrases uses hace, but despejado is not one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. La cuarta columna, the fourth column. We're looking at the fourth column. Mis temporadas favoritas. And really here we'll use estaciones favoritas. Temporadas does mean seasons, but we use it more with, por ejemplo, la temporada navideña, Christmas season, o la temporada de fútbol, soccer season, la temporada de béisbol, baseball season. Strictly seasons of the year, we usually use the word estación. Mis estaciones favoritas en Arizona son el otoño y el invierno, porque el clima Está fresco o frío. Está fresco, está frío. Y puedo caminar y montar mi bicicleta sin sudar mucho. I can walk or ride my bike without sweating a lot. Entiendo. También durante estas estaciones, el aire está despejando. The air is clearing. Está bien. Y fresco. Bien. En octubre, en Scasia, mis vecinos vuelven a casa por el buen tiempo. My neighbors come back because of the good weather. Bien. La quinta columna, our fifth column here. Mi estación favorita en Arizona es el invierno, cuando el clima es más fresco o está más fresco. Está más fresco. Está más fresco because this is always a temporary changeable thing with weather. Está más fresco y puedo hacer muchas actividades al aire libre, outdoors, al aire libre. That's a great phrase. Como caminatas, ir al zoológico and going out to the zoo. Es la estación en la que mucha gente viene de visitar. Season when a lot of people come to visit. Y hay muchas cosas que hacer. There are lots of things to do. No me gusta el verano en Arizona. Ni yo tampoco. Me either. No me gusta el verano en Arizona. Está muy caliente, incluso las noches. Even nights, including the nights. El verano en Arizona es horrible, ¿no? Es horrible. Es un horror. Es a nightmare. Una pesadilla. A mí no me gusta. A mi esposo le gusta el verano en Arizona. No sé por qué. Está loco. Ok. Y la última columna, our last column. En noviembre. De noviembre. And here, this is a little tweak. We would need desde noviembre. And why? ¿Por qué? Because we're naming a starting point and then we're going to name an end point. And usually to do that, we will say desde, our beginning period, and then hasta, which means up to, and our end period. So it'll be desde noviembre hasta marzo. Está fresco en Phoenix y me encanta ir a hacer senderismo. And again, like me gusta or me gustan, this will be me encanta, not me encanto. And we'll take that chunk and add some verbs to it so you can express a lot of words to talk about your feelings come fall, okay? Me encanta ir a hacer senderismo. Senderismo, hiking, ¿bien? Y por fin, last one here. La primavera en Nueva York. Oh, spring in New York. La primavera en Nueva York es mi favorita estación porque los meses, the months, ¿sí? Los meses están soleados y calurosas, ¿sí? O calurosos, no, perdón. Están soleados y calurosos y tienen muchas flores en las jardines. You have a lot of flowers in the garden. Bien. Hicieron bien. You guys did well with that. We will take, however, and this is good for me to kind of evaluate this, we will take those phrases like me gusta, me encanta, and we'll add some things to that which are really helpful to talk about how you feel about things, what interests you, right? What you love, what you don't love, and build on that and kind of reinforce that, because those verbs like encantar and gustar don't work like the other verbs that you're used to. They work a little bit different. Okay. Muy bien. I'm going to send you to breakout rooms to work on weather a little bit more. But before I send out your prompt, because you're going to have 2 prompts, 2 to talk about, and I'll give you probably between 5 and 7 minutes. So before I give you your prompts, I want to know from you, ¿tienen ustedes preguntas? Do you guys have a question after looking at that review of our bulletin board with weather? ¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have questions on things you're still not clear on using weather expressions? And if so, unmute yourself and please ask me. No? Okay, bien. I'm going to send you out for one more practice session in the breakout rooms, and I'm going to type in the chat box what your prompts are. And you've got 2. The first prompt is, habla del tiempo. Oh, perdón. I'm going to phrase this as a question so that you can read it in the chat box. And I need to turn on my accent marks so I can type it properly. ¿Qué tiempo hace en la ciudad o la región donde bien, ¿qué tiempo hace en la ciudad o la región donde vas de vacaciones? In the place where you most go on vacation. Where you often go on vacation. And if you go to a different place every time, just pick a place. ¿Qué tiempo hace en la ciudad o la región donde vas de vacaciones? In the place where you usually go on vacation or a place where you have last gone on vacation, what's the weather like? Okay? Bien? So pick a place, name the city, or name the region if it's a country or a state, lo que sea, whatever it may be. Voy a darles un ejemplo. I'm going to give you an example. Voy a darles el ejemplo de, bien, muchas veces, many times, muchas veces voy de vacaciones a Utah, a los parques nacionales de Utah. Y porque vamos en la primavera, cuando vamos en la primavera, hace calor, pero no hace mucho calor. Hace viento, sí, muchas veces hace viento. Y llueve un poquito, pero no hace fresco. ¿Bien? Ok. El segundo tema, the second theme, es esto. ¿Qué tiempo hace donde viven tus parientes? Okay, aquí viene número 2. Here comes number 2 in the chat box. ¿Qué tiempo hace donde viven tus parientes? What's the weather like where you're not your parents? Parientes es relatives. Wherever the biggest group of your relatives is, okay? What's the weather like where your relatives live? Por ejemplo, mis parientes, muchos parientes viven en Chicago y en Michigan. Y en Chicago, en Michigan, hace fresco muchas veces, muchos meses hace fresco, llueve muchísimo, nieva muchísimo en el invierno, pero hace calor en el verano, ¿verdad? Bien? Okay. You can put in months, you can put in seasons, you can put in whatever you like with that. So, vacaciones y parientes, vacations and relatives. ¿Está bien? Bueno, okay, I'm going to create your groups. I think I'm going to put you in 3 different rooms to try to split that up so that you've always got maybe 3 people per room. It might divvy you up so that there are only 2 of you. Remember to hit your join button when you see the join button. I will give you between 5 and 7 minutes to talk about that. Bien. Vamos. Yeah. Okay. Bueno, estamos esperando a, 6 personas. We're waiting on 6 more people to come on back in. Okay. A ver. Muy bien. Bueno, ¿tienen preguntas? ¿Todo fue muy bien?
Muy bien.
Una pregunta.
Bueno, dime.
How do you use the word I? Is it comes at the beginning of a sentence or in the middle? Hay mucho calor or
I
comes in the
and
beginning?
hace will come right up front. Sí.
So I always at the beginning.
Sí.
Never comes after the first word.
Never is a tough one. No, sometimes, okay, por ejemplo, there might be some little words in front of I, like, como por ejemplo, siempre hay. Siempre hay mucha comida en mi casa. There's always a lot. Words like siempre, always could come in front of I. So, yeah, there might be a word in front of it. Es posible. Or the negative word, no.
Nunca also?
Or quizás, maybe. Sí, eso es. It could be that as well. Exacto.
Okay. I have a question.
Sí, Mary, dime.
How do you say that humidity? I didn't find the humidity in the weather.
Está muy húmedo. I'll type it in the chat box for you. Está because, you know, again, it's a temporary thing, right?
Right.
Está muy húmedo. It's very humid. And the opposite will be dry. And those of you who are avid wine drinkers will recognize this word. Seco. Next time you see on a wine bottle, SEC sick, you know, or SECO, yeah, because the Italians and the French have similar words with those. Está muy húmedo, está muy seco. Sometimes people use humedad. You know, the thing with weather is weather can be tweaked a lot. There are a lot of small words related to húmedo, like humedad, humidity. You know, people might use words like that, but you'll get the big root of that word. So, you know, if somebody uses a word with you that you're not prepared for because it wasn't in your list, because people will do that, you'll still probably recognize it because you'll recognize it's a word that sounds kind of like húmedo. Okay? So that happens. ¿Más preguntas? ¿Tienen más preguntas o no? Bueno, sí, Trish, dime.
When again do you use mucho or muy?
We use mucho when we use it with a noun. So viento is a noun. Whereas we say it is windy, you know, hay mucho viento, hace mucho viento, hace viento. Yeah, sol is a noun.
Okay.
We need mucho sol. Viento is a noun. We need mucho viento.
Okay. But húmedo is muy.
Húmedo is a descriptor.
Okay.
So muy goes with adjectives.
Okay.
Mucho goes with nouns. That is a tough thing for English speakers. If you think, oh shoot, I'm the only one messed up on that. No. That is a real tough thing for English speakers to distinguish because, you know, when we speak, and I'm sure this is with people with a lot of languages as well, we don't think in our minds, I'm going to use a noun, I'm going to use an adjective. We don't think that. You know, it's windy. Okay, So you're not thinking that in Spanish, when you say it's windy, hace viento, that word viento is not really windy, it is wind. So, you know, we're not thinking, oh, I'm now using a noun. You know, when you study the grammar, you kind of get to know that. We get to know the word patterns, right? Mm-hmm. And the word pattern is hace viento. Now, when you want to say it's very windy, you want to plug in very, but you need to plug in much.
Okay.
Hace mucho viento. So viento is a noun, sol is a noun, lluvia, rain is a noun, but you know, húmedo is a descriptor, right? Even hace mucho frío, hace mucho frío. Hace mucho calor. Calor, frío, all those words are nouns. So it's a tough thing. You get used to it the more and more you hear it. Okay. Buenas preguntas. ¿Tienen más preguntas o no? ¿No? Bien? Okay, vale. We're going to take a quick look. You know, I probably will, and I do want to say a quick look at the other little board you did using algo or alguien or, yeah, all of those. And you posted a lot here, which is great. I believe you can go back in and look at this on your own. You know, we will take a little bit of time though to look at this, just to, again, clean up a couple little things. And most of you did really super well with this. You went through a lot of ideas, which was great. So I'm going to look across the whole top row. Desde la izquierda hacia la derecha. I'm going to go from left to right because this was a long, long list. So I'm going to go from left to right, from the top. I'm going to go by rows instead of by columns here. Bien. Nadie puede cocinar este pescado. Nobody can cook this fish. And notice when we use nadie or when we use alguien, we will conjugate the verb as if it were an él, ella, usted form. Because nadie is a onesie person, right? So we can't conjugate it like for yo. We can't conjugate it like for tú, right? We've got to conjugate it as if it's a single person, nadie and alguien. So, nadie puede, perfecto. Nadie puede cocinar. Nadie quiere ir al cine. Nobody wants to go to the movies. Yo tengo algo para ti. I have something for you. And we're going to look at this para ti later on. Para ti es correcto. This is correct. It's not para tú, it's para ti. And there's a reason for that. Hay algo en la cocina. There's something in the kitchen. Alguien entiende este libro. Somebody understands this book. Alguien repite la pregunta. Somebody's repeating the question. Tú no dices nada para la fiesta. Perfecto. Él no recuerda nada sobre el viaje. He doesn't remember anything. Digo algo cuando ella se equivoca. Cuando ella se equivoca, when she is mistaken, when she is wrong. Digo algo, I say something. No digo nada si no lo sé. I don't say anything if I don't know. Bien. Alguien repita, alguien repite. Here's repite. Repita is a good word actually, but repita is a command. It's an order. It's telling somebody do something. So if we're using, well, wait, that could be a command. Somebody repeat, it could be, but generally that would be alguien repite. Repite lo que dijo el maestro. Somebody is saying. If you said it as, hey, somebody say, then it would be alguien repita. Nadie repite lo que hacen los niños malos. Nobody repeat what the bad kids are doing. Recuerdo algo de esa película. I remember something from that movie. No recuerdan, no recuerdan nada. They don't remember anything de lo que pasó. They don't remember anything of what happened ese día, that day. Alguien puede comprar leche en la tienda. Somebody can buy milk in the store. Nadie puede correr tan rápido como él. Nobody can run as fast as he can. Quiero tomar algo de beber. I want to take something to drink. No quiero tener nada que ver con ellos. I don't want to have anything to do with them. No tener nada que ver means not to have anything to do. It looks like it means to not have anything to see, ver. But that's the way they express in Spanish our idea of to have nothing to do with somebody. No quiere tener nada que ver. He doesn't want to have anything to do with them. ¿Alguien entiende lo que dijo el maestro? Does somebody understand what the teacher said? Nadie entiende lo que significa ese letrero. Nobody understands what that sign says. Quiero hacer algo diferente. I want to do something different. Puedes decirle algo a tu hija por mí. Can you say something to your daughter por mí? It might probably want para mí there, but that's okay. Hay algo que no entiendo. There's something that I don't understand. Hay algo que no entiendo sobre la tarea. There's something that I don't get about the homework. I'm not quite sure what this one. ¿Está algo quieres decirme? Is this something that you want to say to me? Okay. ¿Es esto algo? ¿Es esto algo? Is this something? ¿Es esto algo? That is kind of a complicated thing to explain. ¿Es esto? Is this thing? ¿Es esto algo? Is this something? ¿Es esto algo que quieres decirme? That you want to say to me. ¿Alguien quiere repetir la pregunta? Somebody want to repeat the question? No recuerdo el nombre de nada. I don't remember the name of anything. Nadie puede ir al restaurante. Nobody can go to the restaurant. Mi esposa estupenda. De Jeff. Mi esposa estupenda, my great wife, dice que no recuerdo nada. My great wife says I don't remember anything. Hay alguien en la puerta principal. There's somebody at the main door, the front door. No hay nadie en la puerta principal. There's nobody at the front door, the main entrance. Quiero comer algo dulce. I want to eat something sweet. Nadie dice nada. Nobody says anything. And a double negative is big thumbs up. You could even say no. No dice nadie nada. You know, they love double negatives. Mi esposa estupenda dice que no entiendo nada sobre las mujeres. My great wife says, I don't understand anything about women. Te voy a decir, pero no le repitas a nadie. This is a command. I'm going to tell you, but don't repeat it to anybody. And here you do need repitas instead of repites. A negative command does get an opposite vowel. Te voy a decir, pero no le repitas a nadie. Don't say it to anybody. Los Beatles dicen, hay algo en su apariencia. There's something in the way she looks. Yeah, ¿sí? Eso es, sí, ok. ¿Puedo entender algo sobre mi esposa? Maravillosa. Ella me ama mucho. She loves me a lot. Bien. alguien quiero que, alguien quiere, somebody wants, alguien quiere que le digo algo, that I tell them. Okay. I think that one I'm not quite sure. Alguien quiere, somebody wants me to say something. I see, okay. So we'll have to tweak that a little bit. Alguien quiere que le digo algo. Que le digo algo, that I tell it to them. Somebody wants me to tell it to them. Él no puede decir nada sobre eso. He can't say anything about that. Por favor, no le repitas esto a nadie. Please don't repeat this to anybody. Quiero olvidar algo. I want to forget something. Bien. Ok, a veces. Mi esposo puede cocinar nada. And here we need an extra no. So, Sue, here we need an extra no. Mi esposo no puede cocinar nada. Mi esposo no puede cocinar nada. You could move that little special word nada up in front of puede and make that okay. Mi esposo nada puede cocinar, but most people don't say it that way. It would be okay, but no, most people use nada as a double negative all the time. Mi esposo no puede cocinar nada. Nadie recuerda mi cumpleaños. Nobody remembers my birthday. Alguien repite la pregunta, por favor. Somebody remember or repeat the question. Somebody repeat the question, please. Él dice algo mal. And that would mean he says something badly, like mispronounces it. If you want to say it as he says something that's bad, like a bad word, something like that, then that would be malo. So it kind of depends on your meaning there. Nadie entiende portugués en esta clase. Nobody understands Portuguese. Y ni yo tampoco, me either. Nadie entiende portugués. Alguien quiere ver la película. Somebody want to see the movie. Digo algo a mi amiga, pero ella no me dice nada en la mañana. Ella repite algo del libro. She repeats something about the book, pero no repite nada para la película. I think you want a película there. Bien, ¿sí? Por favor, alguien recuerda la dirección. Somebody remembers the address. And we need recuerda. Alguien always takes a singular verb. Okay? Alguien recuerda. ¿Puede alguien cocinar la cena? Can somebody cook dinner? ¿Puede alguien cocinar? ¿Puede alguien cocinar? No puedes nada. I think you want no puedes hacer nada. No puedes hacer. You can't do anything. No puedes hacer nada en el jardín porque está muy caluroso. It's very hot. ¿Sí? ¿Quieres algo de beber? Nat just uses de. I can't explain to you why, it just does. ¿Quieres algo de beber? Do you want something to eat? And we say to eat, but they don't use it as a. ¿Quieres algo de beber? It's just what they use. No queremos hacer nada en la mañana. We don't want to do anything in the morning. Ella entiende algo para la ópera. No entiendo nadie en la fiesta. And that will need a little extra word a. No entiendo a nadie. I don't understand anybody. And when we take nadie and make it the object instead of the subject, we need a little extra word a there. Again, that's something we'll talk about in the fall, because that's something I don't expect you to know right now. If you say nobody understands, it can be nadie entiende. if you say, I don't understand anybody, and anybody becomes the object, they receive the action of understanding, we need to put an a word in there. No entiendo a nadie. Okay? Nadie puede ir al restaurante. Nobody can go to the restaurant. No recuerdo nada de lo que me dices. I don't remember anything that you told me. Entiendo algo en clase, pero no todo. I understand something in class, but not everything. Bien. ¿Alguien quiere ir a bailar el fin de semana? Hey, somebody want to go dancing this weekend? Hoy no quiero comer nada. Today, I don't want to eat anything. No le digas a nadie que estuve aquí. Don't tell anybody that I was here. Nadie conoce la respuesta a la pregunta de Marilyn. Nobody knows the answer. Nobody's familiar with the answer. No, nadie en mi comunidad tiene piscina. Nobody in my community has a pool. No voy a la fiesta con nadie. I'm not going to the party with anybody. And really, you guys did quite well with most of that. There are just, again, little things to tweak, tiny things. So I'm going to try to find out how to go back in and edit, because I had plugged in an edit button, but it didn't quite want to work for me. Probably something I'm doing wrong. I'm going to try to go back in and edit just those teeny tiny things in there so that you can go back in and look at it again if you wish. Just keep that link. Bien. We're going to do...
And Marilyn?
Oh, sí,
Marilyn,
dime.
if we wanted to undo the post, there's no garbage can for us. When we put a post up, there is no garbage can. No.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to find out how to make that work then. Okay.
It's there.
Gracias. Gracias por decirme. Thank you for telling me about that. There are so many features with this. I thought that the garbage can would show for you.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to try to find out this week then. That'll be one of my things to try to find out how to make that work. I will try to go into their little FAQ site and see what I can get to work with that. Okay. A ver. Bueno, vamos a ver. We're going to take a look at one more thing. We're going to preview a short lesson, and I know, Trish, this is something you said to me, this is a lot of stuff. Tienes razón, you are correct. Tienes razón, you're right. This is a lot of stuff. And this is why I didn't give everything to you in 1 week, like your book would have said, okay? Because it is a lot. But this is a little chart, and I'll send you what this chart is. In a lot of books, when they teach it, they teach this as affirmative and negative words. And you know, if you're a 15-year-old or 16-year-old in class, they throw all this at you in 1 week. And you got about 2-3 days to learn this. Of course, you know, you practice it 5 days a week too. So, okay. And you're going to see some words in here that we haven't worked with yet. This whole, well, 1, 2, 3 columns of this we haven't worked with yet. Well, 4. We've worked with no and sí, muy obvio, ¿no? Nadie en alguien, nada en algo. We've worked with ninguno en alguno, okay? We're leaving some of these off till fall. But we are going to take this look at this one last category, because this is a pretty common thing, and I'm going to have you practice this a little bit. This one that has the bracket. Everybody see the bracketed one of nunca and jamás? Nunca and jamás, because a lot of times we do want to say never or always. Never or always, and they are, again, the yin and the yang, the opposites of each other, okay? There are 2 ways to say never. Now, the good news for you is that jamás, that bottom one with the J, is a little more common in Spain. In my opinion, this is a little more common in Spain. I think you hear it a little bit less in Latin America. So we focus a little bit more on nunca. Sometimes I have heard people from the Latin American area use jamás when they want to make something really dramatic or emphatic, because it's kind of, for them, a more literary word, you know, thus fancier. But nunca, I think, is a little more common. Siempre will be the opposite of that, always. So we're going to look at just that opposite end pair of each other, okay? Those opposite words. And we're going to start that with, oh, wait, I didn't want this particular video. Momentito. I have to do a little adjustment. We're going to find our first video on that. Yeah, our first video on that. Okay, we're going to watch a little video on it, and then I'm going to send you out into groups to practice it. We'll take your questions before you go out to practice it. This is going to be a little bit easier than, definitely way easier than your alguno and ninguno, because siempre and nunca talk about actions. Actions, what you do, right? I never swim, I never clean, I always eat at this time, it's always hot in summer. They talk about activities or actions. So you're never going to have a feminine or a masculine or a plural with these words. So the forms of siempre, always, or the forms of nunca, never, don't change. Now you will have that double negative thing going on, but you don't have like masculine or feminine or plural or singular words to think about. So in that sense, it will be an easier thing to pick up on and use right away. So I'm going to have you listen with me to this video first, and we'll see if you have any questions, and then we'll have you do some practice on it. Vamos a ver. And I may stop and comment if he uses verbs you don't know, or, you know, things like that.
Hola, en esta lección vamos a hablar acerca de las palabras siempre, nunca y jamás. So in Spanish, there's this affirmative word siempre, which means always. And then there are these two negative words that are actually the opposite, nunca and jamás. Both of those mean never. Here are some affirmative sentences with siempre. ¿Siempre te cepillas los dientes antes de acostarte? ¿Siempre se levantan los muchachos a las 11 de la mañana? ¿Siempre iba al parque por la tarde, Luis?
And iba is just a past. Instead of goes to the park, went to the park. That's all. So don't let the iba throw you, because he's going to mix up some present and past.
¿Siempre pasa Margarita por la casa de su abuela? ¿Siempre te hablan por teléfono los domingos tus papás?
Okay. And siempre te hablan just means your parents always talk to you, and the te there means to you, meaning you're the one being talked at, okay? Siempre te hablan. Bien. And notice, siempre, when you ask a question, usually comes right up front. So Isaac, that question you had about does something come in front of I, you might say siempre hay, are there always? Siempre hay fiestas, are there always parties? Siempre hay fiestas los sábados, are there always parties on Saturdays? Bien? Okay.
¿Siempre comes los zapatos?
That's a silly question. Okay.
Now, what if we were wanting to answer these questions using never or nunca? Let's see. ¿Siempre te cepillas los dientes antes de acostarte? No, nunca me cepillo los dientes antes de acostarme.
So notice, he's got it double negative. No, just answering it negative first. But then when we take that special word nunca and put it up in front of the verb, and here the verb structure is actually not just cepillo, brush, but me cepillo, I brush my teeth. When we put nunca in front of the verb phrase there, we could technically use it by itself, the negative word nunca by itself. But he threw in an extra no, which people will frequently do because they like the double negatives, they like triple negatives, you know, if they feel strongly about something. That's just the way it is.
Oh, no, no me cepillo los dientes antes de acostarme nunca.
Okay, so here's what I want you to notice. The second example. For a true double negative, no comes in front of the verb phrase, which in this case is not just cepillo, but me cepillo. No me cepillo. If you want to use nunca, if you want to trail it later in the sentence, it's got to be that double negative. I can take the special negative word nunca and swing it in front of the verb phrase. That's the first sentence. Nunca me cepillo. Or if I want to put nunca later in the sentence, I have to say it as a double negative now. No me cepillo, I don't brush. No me cepillo los dientes, your teeth, antes de acostarme nunca. Okay.
¿Siempre se levantan los muchachos a las 11 de la mañana? No, nunca se levantan a las 11 de la mañana.
Okay, the special nunca word up in front of the se levantan, and that just means they get up. Special negative word in front of the verb phrase, it can stand by itself. Nunca can stand by itself.
Oh, no, no se levantan a las 11 de la mañana nunca.
If I swing nunca to a later part of the phrase, I have to use this as a double negative. No se levantan nunca.
¿Siempre iba al parque por la tarde, Luis? No, nunca iba al parque por la tarde.
He never used to go to the park. Nunca iba. Iba there is the verb. You wouldn't know that. That's okay. Nunca iba al parque. He never went to the park. Nunca, the special negative, can sit there by itself if it's in front of the verb.
No, no iba al parque por la tarde nunca.
Now, double negative because nunca swung to the back end of the sentence. No iba al parque por la tarde nunca.
Marilyn,
Sí.
would you have to have the no at the standing by itself, or could the answer simply be the following sentence?
Yeah, that very first no with the period after it.
Yes.
You might drop that. You
could-
might.
Okay. Okay.
You might not. People will do what they feel like with that. Right.
¿Siempre pasa Margarita por la casa de su abuela? No, nunca pasa por la casa de su abuela. Oh, no, no pasa por la casa de su abuela nunca. ¿Siempre te hablan por teléfono tus papás los domingos? No, nunca me hablan.
They never talk to me. Nunca me hablan. They never talk to me.
Oh, no, no me hablan nunca. ¿Siempre comes los zapatos?
That's a dumb question.
No, nunca los como.
And nunca los como just means I never eat them. The los is standing in for that word zapatos, and it means them. You won't be doing that today.
No, no los como nunca. Pretty easy, right? Notice that if we want to say never in the sentence, we can put nunca in front of the verb. This makes the sentence negative, making the no unnecessary. But if nunca goes after the verb, we must have a no in front, creating a double negative.
So that's the pattern there. Nunca in front of the verb. It's okay. Nunca can stand by itself, not be doubled if you put it in front of the verb. If nunca swings to the later part of the sentence, to the tail end of the sentence, and then we need a double negative. No with the verb and then nunca.
So let's look at a few of those examples again in the negative. No, no se levantan a las 11 de la mañana nunca. Well, in English we would say no, they don't get up at 11 o'clock ever. In Spanish, we would literally be saying no, they don't never get up at 11 o'clock in the morning. This is a double negative. Otro ejemplo, no, no pasa por la casa de su abuela nunca. In English, we'd say no, she doesn't go by her grandmother's house ever. But in Spanish, we're saying no, she doesn't never go by her grandmother's house. Or she doesn't go by her grandmother's house never. So, to summarize, siempre is always, and nunca and jamás both mean never. Nunca can go before the verb, but it will make the sentence negative, so you won't have a no anymore. Nunca can also go after the verb, but we'll need to add a no before the verb to create the double negative. Also, you might come across jamás. It will only go before the verb. Por ejemplo, jamás se levantan a las 11 de la mañana. Luis jamás iba al parque por la tarde. Yo jamás como los zapatos. Muy bien, that's all for this video lesson.
Okay, a ver. Vale, momentito. Okay, so again, jamás, way more in Spain than here. Bueno, ¿tienen preguntas? And again, the only thing you got to remember is, nunca may need to be used as double negative. The easy way to fix that is put it in front of the verb. ¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have some questions before I give you a prompt? I'm going to have you practice siempre and nunca. Leave out the jamás, just nunca. I'm going to have you practice that with folks in your group. ¿Hay preguntas o no? No. Okay. And again, you don't worry about masculine, feminine, because it's talking about an action, right? Okay. El tema, our prompt. When I send you off into your little rooms, I want you to talk about 2 or 3 things that you always do or you never do, or that somebody in your house or your neighbor or whoever. I'm going to write some examples in the chat box para que sepan, so you know. Okay? Por ejemplo, and I'm going to start with somebody that's not me. Mi esposo nunca come el desayuno. My husband never eats breakfast. Mi esposo nunca come el desayuno. I could rephrase that and make it a double negative. I could rephrase that and it would mean the exact same thing and say, mi esposo no come el desayuno nunca. Those 2 sentences mean the exact same thing. Son iguales. They're equal. They're the same. Mi esposo nunca come el desayuno. Mi esposo no come el desayuno nunca. Bien, no importa. It doesn't matter. One way is not more common than the other. It's just whatever somebody feels like saying. Bien? Okay. Bien? Un ejemplo con siempre. Siempre. Por ejemplo, siempre, siempre, siempre limpio. Siempre limpio la cocina. Siempre limpio la cocina. Siempre limpio la cocina. I always clean the kitchen. Mis gatos siempre comen a las 6 de la mañana. My cats always eat at 6 in the morning. Mis gatos siempre comen a las 6 de la mañana. So I want you to talk about 2 or 3 things that you do or anybody in your house does, your pets, your spouse, your kids, your neighbors, whoever, lo que sea, whatever. Some examples of siempre, some examples with nunca. ¿Está bien? Bueno, okay. I'll give you about 5, 10, no, 10 no, 5, 7, 5 o 6 minutos, right? And you can use whatever verbs you want. No importa, doesn't matter at all. Regular verbs, easy verbs, irregular verbs off your new list from, recently with stem changes, lo que sea, whatever you want to do. Okay, we'll give you about 6 or 7 minutes here. And we've still got people in the same breakout rooms. I'll give you a little reminder when we're about to finish up, but do remember to hit the join button. Bien. Bien.
Marilyn, I have a question.
Sí, dime, Mary.
Do you say la tele or el tele?
Oh, la televisión is la televisión, but TV set, like the box, the device itself is el televisor. Usually la tele.
Okay, la tele.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bien. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, de nada. Bien. Okay, vale. ¿Tienen preguntas o no?
One that relates to nothing other than we didn't know the answer.
Oh, okay.
The difference between pescado and pez when you're saying fish.
La diferencia entre pescado y pez. El pescado, el pez. El pez está vivo. Pez is alive.
Oh.
Pescado is dead on your plate.
Okay.
You're ready to eat it. The food, as food, or ready to cook it, it's pescado.
Okay.
As pez, it's the little, sitting in the tank.
Swimming.
Still alive. Buena pregunta. Yeah, because we just have fish, right?
Yeah.
Live fish. And that's how we got to do in English to distinguish that. Okay.
Yeah.
Buena pregunta. Okay. Es perfecto. Ya. Okay. Nos quedan 10 minutos. We've got about 10 minutes left. Perfecto. This is perfect. We had a question, and this is good because it relates back to how words function. And again, it's something that we don't think about much in English because we do this naturally. If English is not your first language, you probably will be thinking more about the grammar of it because you're used to doing that, but English speakers typically don't do this. You had a long time ago pronouns. Pronouns like talking about yourself.
Yeah.
Yo, right? Talking about speaking to somebody, to a kid or to a friend. You becomes tú, right? Okay. You've got yo and other people, nosotros, we, right? Nosotras for feminine form, we don't use it that much, but it's there because sometimes we need it. We've got talking to you, you guys is ustedes, right? We've got talking about they, any group of they is ellos, right? These are pronouns, right? We've got they, all feminine group. That's got to be not ellos, but a feminine form, which is ellas. Bien? Okay. Talking to one guy, you. We don't know his first name. He's not a friend of ours, so the polite you is usted. ¿Verdad? Okay. Talking just about one guy, not to him, but about him. He, a. ¿Verdad? Talking about one gal, one girl, just one girl, not to her, but about her. Ella, she, right? Okay, so I, you, he, she, they, you guys, we. Subject pronouns, those are subject pronouns. Pronouns stand in for a bigger noun, like él. He stands in for a male person. Él could be Carlos. Él could be Jeff. Él could be any guy. Él could be el vecino, my neighbor, right? Mi vecino. Él could stand in for mi vecino. But all those words are subject pronouns. And that means they are doing whatever action you're talking about, right? My neighbor cleans his yard. My son drives to work. They're doing an action. Okay, those are subject pronouns. Unfortunately for us, there are all kinds of different pronouns, and which pronoun you use depends on the function it's serving in the sentence. This is problematic because, you know, we just naturally don't think about this very much in English. Sometimes a pronoun doesn't do the action. Sometimes it receives the action, it's being acted upon. Sometimes the pronoun has to follow a little word called a preposition. That's what we're going to talk about next. So instead of saying, I'm buying a gift, I am buying a gift, you might want to say, somebody is buying a gift for me. Or somebody is talking with me. Or somebody is cooking for me. Anytime I use a pronoun after a preposition, I have to think a little bit harder in two situations. Only in two. Okay, so let's kind of backtrack a little bit. I'm going to share a screen with you. I'm going to share, oh, come on, screen. Here we go. I'm going to share a whiteboard with you. Actually, I hadn't thought about this. I really should have made up a whole slide for this, but I was going to show a video, which is too long to show you today. So that's why we're doing it this way. Okay. We're going to take a look at this screen. I want to be able to annotate this. You can tell I don't do this very often. We need a text box. Hopefully it'll let me text in here now. Okay, prepositions. Prepositions, what the heck are these words? These words are little itty bitty teeny tiny words like to, with, for, in, on. Need to make my text box bigger. Without. Oh, in front of, behind. Next to, behind. Oh, I have behind twice. That doesn't make any sense. On top of, below. Okay, so all those things are prepositions. Prepositions are hard words to describe. To, I don't know, how do you describe that? Sometimes prepositions deal with location in space. In front of, next to, behind, okay, on top of. Sometimes they're just words like for or to or with, you know, which don't tell you anything spatially. You can read a little more about these, and I actually, it's going to be on page 131, en la página 131. If you've got your book handy, por favor, abran el libro en la página 139. 131, page 131. Shows you some, but not all, prepositions. There's no way you're going to memorize every preposition there is. The video you're going to do as kind of a homework will talk to you about a lot of different kinds of prepositions. The ones we want to know about today or look at today are going to be some really obvious ones, like in Spanish, which, and I need to switch back and forth because I don't have an equal signs on my Spanish keyboard. Which means to or at, right? Like con, which means with, like de, which means of or from, right? Like en, which means in or on, or sometimes en can mean at, like en casa, at home. Para, which means for, or in order to. It means actually more than just for. Sin, without. So here's an opposite word, opposite of con. Sin is the opposite of con. Con with, sin without. These are super common prepositions. Okay? Now, there are a lot of other prepositions, which they're going to tell you on page 132 and 133. It's going to get to become too much. Too much. So I'm going to add only a couple of really obvious prepositions. And these are going to talk about spatial reference that's common. Like when people give you directions, you know, where things spatially are in relation to you or a thing in the room, something like that. So we're going to take some obvious and commonly used prepositions that talk about space. We're going to use al lado de, next to, right? Next to, because if somebody gave you directions for finding something, they might use al lado de, next to. We're going to talk about cerca de, near. Near, cerca de. We're going to talk about the opposite of cerca de, lejos de, meaning far. Okay? We're going to take a special reference of dentro de, inside of. We're going to take a spatial preposition of enfrente de. And this sometimes takes some different forms. Sometimes it's just frente de, sometimes it's enfrente de, sometimes it's even delante de. So actually I'll put that here too. Some people may use it as delante de. And notice, all these things are paired up with de. We took the word de from this left-hand column, and these are like big groups of words, but these are all spatial things that tell you where something is in relation to something else, right? Al lado de, cerca de, lejos de, dentro de, enfrente de. And we're going to take detrás de, which means behind. Okay? Vale. We're only going to take those because if I tell you to look in the book on pages 131 to 133, you're going to see about, I don't know, 20, 30 different groups of prepositions. Es demasiado, it's too much. So we're going to talk about these prepositions, which are probably the most common ones. The left-hand column, just common within lots of sentences. The right-hand column is talking more about spatial relationships, okay? if we use a pronoun behind one of these prepositions, like if I want to say something is for her, not she's buying something, not she buys, she's the subject, but something is for her, like a present is for her. The good news is, if in English the word changes from she buys to I buy it for, not for she, but for her, right? In English, the word changes from she to her, doesn't it? Okay, and how do you know that? Because you just do. Well, yeah. In Spanish, it'll still be para ella. Ella, behind the preposition, will be the same. Él compra, he buys something. But if it's for him, para él stays the same. Yay! In English, I can't say the gift is for he, the gift is for him. English, I've got to change it. That's a problem. You buy something, usted compra, right? But if something is for you, es para usted. Yay, it's the same thing in Spanish. In English, it always is, oh, you buy, but something is for you, you and you. We use the same thing. Okay. They buy, ellas compran, they buy. But if the gift is for them, es para ellas. It's the same in Spanish. Yay. So no changes so far, right? Ellos compran, they buy. Okay, but I thought I buy something, it is for them, for them. Para ellos, Spanish, it stays the same. I can't say the gift is for they. In English, I have to change it to say the gift is for them. Okay. Ustedes compran, you guys buy, you guys buy. But if the gift is for you guys, para ustedes. Same thing. Vale. With nosotros, nosotros compramos, we buy, the subject, but es para nosotros, it's for us, it stays the same. Yay. All right. So what I'm telling you is that ella, él, ellos, ellas, usted, ustedes, they stay the same if I use it after one of these prepositions. Here are the two words that are going to be different. And I'm going to stop share for a minute so you can see me on a big screen. Tú is a subject pronoun. But if I want to use this after para, after a, after de, after sin, I cannot use tú anymore. This word will have to change. It will become ti, T-I, ti. And yo, to talk about yourself. If I want to use yo after para, if I want to use yo after a, if I want to use yo after de, I cannot use yo anymore. It has to become me. Me. So we're going to take a look at our whiteboard screen again. Okay. Woo. Wow. It didn't like that. Yikes. All right, that totally messed up. But anyway, if we want to use yo behind a preposition, it can't be yo anymore. It's got to be me. If I want to use tú behind a preposition, I can't use tú anymore. It changes into ti. Okay. So, yay, finally let me move this. Yikes, a ver, wow. Okay, it will not let me go back and change my spacing. That's all messed up. So let's create a new box. Let's take a look at this. Here's how it's going to look. And the video will explain this to you. Es para ti. It's for you. I can't say es para tú. Because after this word para, I need to change tú into ti. Es para ti. Let's change it up, make it a little more specific. El regalo, the gift. El regalo es para ti. El regalo es para mí. And notice me gets an accent mark. Ti does not, but me does. You don't need to know why yet. We'll talk about that in the fall. So after a word like para, en, sin, after these kind of words, after these prepositions, well, I'm going to take sin out of that. After words like de, para, en, enfrente de, detrás de, any of those kind of preposition words, we're going to use me and ti. Okay? Con is a special condition. Con plus me cannot be con me. It'll turn into conmigo, a whole new word, because it does. There's no reason, it just does. Con with T has to become a whole big word, contigo. So if I want to say, quiero hablar contigo, I want to talk with you. It's not quiero hablar con ti, quiero hablar contigo. Quiero hablar, I want to talk, quiero hablar contigo. I want to talk with you. Ella quiere hablar conmigo. She wants to talk with me. Ella quiere hablar. She wants to talk. Ella quiere hablar conmigo. She wants to talk with me. So, with that special word con, it becomes a big special word, conmigo and contigo. Otherwise, it's just me with an accent mark, just T, no accent mark. Me and T are what they call prepositional pronouns. Me and T need to be used after what we call a preposition. These words in your book on page 131, en la página 131, like en, a, de, para, okay? All those special preposition words. Okay, there's a really excellent video, which was too long for me to play today, which will explain that to you and show you a lot of examples. So I'll have you look at that video because we don't meet next week because this is the end of session. So you have to sometimes pay attention to where a pronoun is in a sentence, how it's being used. After a preposition, it's going to have to be that. And the nice thing is, most of those pronouns will not change. The only two that change are me and ti. That's it. The other ones stay the same. Bien? Makes sense? And you've even heard that a little bit when we used gustar. A mí me gusta. Remember a mí me gusta? That's why it's a mí. Me is following the word a. A mí me gusta. I like. A ti te gusta. A ti te gusta. You like. But a él le gusta. He likes. A ella le gusta. She likes. A nosotros. Right? A nosotros. nos gustamos. But a mí and a ti, that's why those were what they were. Because after the word a, we need a mí. After a word a, we need the word ti. They're prepositional pronouns. Bien? Vale. Okay. And so we'll tie that into some review of gustar and encantar when we come back. First lesson, we'll tie that back in so that you see that. Those are the clarifying phrases, right? The a mí me gusta, a ti te gusta, the emphatic phrases. So we'll tie these phrases into the review lesson with gustar and encantar when we come back in septiembre, bien? Vale? Magnifico, okay. I'll probably give you an extra video to watch on that because it'll reinforce all those little prepositions for you. Y eso es todo, and that's about it. ¿Está bien? ¿Tienen preguntas o no? ¿Nada? Okay. Vamos a rezar por lluvia. We're going to pray for rain. I'm praying for rain. I have literally cacti that are dying in my yard. So I'm going to pray for rain the next 2 weeks because I'm getting really tired of watering cactus. No one should have to water cactus.
No.
Así es, so it is. So we will leave it there for right now. I'll give you a little homework just to listen to a couple of videos with that. And eso es todo, and that's it for now. See? If you want to ask me a few questions, you can stay on for a minute. If you need to leave, entiendo, I understand. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias.
Marilyn, would you put